Number 10, Radioactive Foxy. I'm not sure what it is with Foxy in the color neon green, but I feel like these two are just things that usually end up together. I don't know if that's just me. Which is why I wasn't surprised when we got Radioactive Foxy in the FNAF AR game for mobile special delivery. This game never disappoints when it comes to offering us a wide variety of alternate looks for our favorite animatronics, Foxy included. Radioactive Foxy was Foxy's first skin released in the game and was part of the Wastelands collection, which we saw in June of last year, 2020. If you're like 2020 wasn't last year, you are watching this way in the future, my friend. Number 9, Blacklight Foxy. These 3 little cutie variants were available as collectible mini Funkos, but don't show up in the games. Initially, these little blacklight versions of the animatronics were meant to appear in Help Wanted. Despite the fact that there were multiple versions of multiple characters available, these collectibles are actually not easy to find today. I don't even know if they're still available. They were available as mystery minis, which meant if you wanted all 3 versions of Foxy or the whole set of all of the blacklight animatronics, you'd have to buy multiple boxes just to find them or trade to get them. Blacklight Foxy came in 3 base colors: yellow, purple, and green. And friends, if you are loving this list as much as I am loving this list, then be sure to show your love by giving us a thumbs up, or Foxy will cry. Don't make Foxy cry. Make sure you like and subscribe. Number 8, Lolbit. Lolbit is like some weird mashup between Funtime Foxy and Foxy themselves. I guess they're more a variation on Funtime than on original Foxy, but they do have that swanky hook hand, so yeah, or at least they used to. That is, of course, when they're not busy being just a floating head, of course. Lolbit first appeared in FNAF World, a game that no longer exists, although I think there is a fan-made simulator version of the game for those who missed out, and maybe want to revisit the idea of a FNAF open world RPG. Lolbit is mostly considered to be a side character in the franchise who, in Custom Nights, acts as an obstacle as opposed to a direct antagonist. However, in Help Wanted, they appeared as a full-body animatronic for those interested in an antagonistic Lolbit experience. Number 7, FNAF World Foxy. Although Lolbit is sort of a version of Foxy, they're also kind of one degree of separation away from being as close an alternate as this version is. Lolbit, as I said, is more a mashup of Funtime Foxy and Foxy, or, you know, just a variation of Funtime Foxy, if you will, who some consider to be a completely separate animatronic despite the similarities, which is why I thought it was important we talk about another animatronic that is closer to Foxy in terms of versions, but is also from the FNAF world. We are simply talking here about Foxy, or Baron Foxy as they're sometimes referred to in this game. This version of Foxy was almost identical to its original counterpart from the first game, but of course, this being FNAF World, was made to look a little more cute. His attacks in the game were Hook, Jump Scare, and Hot Cheese. Gotta watch out for that hot cheese. Don't wanna burn the roof of your mouth. Mangle. Mangle is, of course, their own animatronic, but is obviously at the same time a variation on Foxy. Instead of being a pirate or even a clear representation of an anthropomorphic fox, Mangle is, well, kind of a mess. Their whole thing is that they are constantly torn apart and reassembled by toddlers, which honestly sounds like a nightmare. I imagine for Mangle, it's kind of like living as a victim in like a horror movie every single day. No wonder they're trying to jump scare you. They probably have a lot of pent-up frustration and like anxiety. Because of their story, Mangle typically enters the office unseen and jumps down from the ceiling to attack you in-game. Number 5, Rockstar Freddy. I just love that this version of Foxy comes with an accordion. Oh, so piratey. This version of Foxy appears in Pizzeria Simulator and is a redesign of the original animatronic, being much more in tune with Foxy's piratey roots. This version has a peg leg, eye patch, and a hook. I can imagine him singing about how to become a pirate, but how you'll first need to lose an eye and an arm. He also comes with a little parrot pal on his shoulder. In fact, if you encounter this version of Foxy during the night in Pizzeria Simulator, seeing his parrot fly across your screen, you can actually click it for a chance to get an upgrade from Foxy. But if you're unlucky, you'll just end up getting jump scared instead. Number 4, Nightmare Foxy. One of the scariest alternate versions of the Foxy animatronic. Nightmare Foxy first appeared in FNAF 4 along with the other Nightmare animatronics featured there. Like them, this version version of Foxy appears to be monstrous in size and is very, very tattered. From the knees down, their endoskeleton is completely exposed. While they do still brandish a hook like the original Foxy, their eye patch is missing. I always wonder why specifically these nightmare animatronics would have been created within like the lore of the games. What purpose do they serve? And did they ever look less terrifying than they appear in the game? Were they ever not tattered and as such potentially more friendly looking? Were they like designed to be tattered? Were they designed to be terrifying looking and then they just became even more terrifying looking? Number 3, Funtime Foxy. Funtime Foxy is basically a more polished version of Foxy. If Foxy were also a Funtime animatronic, that is. The Funtime animatronics come to us from Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental and are more shiny, colorful, and often more modern looking takes on our favorite animatronics. State of the art, if you will. This version of Foxy is also sometimes thought to be female, due mostly to the fact that they wear lipstick, but hey, you know, anyone can wear lipstick. Also, if you hear Funtime Foxy speak, it's like, I don't know what's going on. But hey, anyone can wear lipstick. However, this is a major difference between Funtime Foxy and the original Foxy model. The lipstick, not necessarily the gender swap. I'm pretty sure Funtime Foxy's voice clips make them sound masculine, so it's like, I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with that. Gotta call up Scott and be like, hey, I need to know the gender of this animatronic. It's super important. I feel like animatronics having gender at all isn't like really a thing. It's just an illusion. Number 2, Grim Foxy. I think Grim Foxy is one of my all-time favorite versions of Foxy because, well, I love Curse of the Dreadbear and that hook though. Grim Foxy has a giant hook that pretty much resembles more of a sickle than a traditional pirate hook. He also glows as though he had a fire burning inside him, like the other Halloween versions of the animatronics. He of course first appeared as one of the animatronics included in the Curse of the Dreadbear DLC for the FNAF VR game Help Wanted. This version of Foxy is also a combination of two that I love, seemingly taking inspiration in his look from Nightmare Foxy and original Foxy, and thereby giving us a very twisted take on the animatronic. Number 1, Big Bad Foxy. Does it get better than this skin? Honestly, a version of Foxy I've been waiting to see for a while, finally coming to reality in special delivery. Big Bad Foxy is the name of Foxy's third skin in FNAF AR special delivery and is part of the Scary Tales group of skins, with Big Bad Foxy obviously being a play on the Big Bad Wolf from Little Red Riding Hood. The best thing about this skin is it comes with two variations. One of Foxy just as the wolf looking super scary, and another of him disguised as Red Riding Hood's grandmother, dressed up in a blue nightie with spectacles on. So excellent. Number 10, Ringmaster Foxy. Is anyone else super creeped out by Ringmaster Foxy's whip arm? That arm has to make this version one of the creepiest ones out there. Ringmaster Foxy comes to us from the magical world of the FNAF AR mobile game special delivery. This is Foxy's second skin to be released in the game as part of the Dark Circus event. This skin first appeared on September 3rd of 2020 in-game and presents Foxy reimagined as a twisted version of a ringmaster, or a ringleader if you will, in a circus. Here he does not sport his eye patch and typical piratey look, but is still missing an eye. His remaining eye glows yellow, which matches his brightly colored gold tooth, which also kinda seems to glow. Number 9, Roxy. Roxy actually isn't from the canon world of FNAF, but is from what we'll likely come to know as the FNAF multiverse. She is from a fan-made game inspired by FNAF called Pyro Illusion, subtitled Five Nights at Roxy's. Roxy is the main character of the bunch and is described as being a pyro fox. This fan-made game I don't think is out yet, but it has been in development since 2017, so should be out soon, I would think. And so far, it looks like it's going to be really, really good, just based on the trailer and all the promotional material that I've seen on that page. Here's hoping it drops soon so that we can get a closer look at this world where the main character of this new sort of FNAF adjacent franchise seems to be a fox herself. It's like a world where a female Foxy was the main character of the franchise instead of Freddy. I love it. I mean, I feel like for some of us, that's already a situation. Every day we're like, I mean, Foxy's sort of the main to me. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, more lists on Foxy, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Molten Foxy. Molten Foxy is not a version of Foxy we have ever seen in game, but is a really cool fan-made alternate that I personally would love to see in the game. Everyone loves a Molten animatronic, so why not a Molten Foxy, huh? Redditor Kurzy shared some artwork of just that, a version of Foxy that seems to have a ton of melted down wires and also seems to have only their hands and head left. Yikes. Their eyes are mixed into the tangle of wires that are spread out below them. In fact, they might even have more eyes than they actually have. And the rest of their endoskeleton seems to have come apart, melting down likely in the heat. A disturbing sight that would definitely spook you in game. Number 7, Nightmare Foxy from FNAF World. I know we talked about Nightmare Foxy from the canon FNAF games on part 1 of this list, but did you know there was also a Nightmare version of Foxy in the FNAF World game as well? Yep. Just like the Foxy from FNAF World that we talked about on part 1 of this list, this Nightmare version was also a lot cuter than the one we saw in FNAF 4, to of course match the aesthetic of the game. This version of Foxy appears to have upgraded attacks from his previous version, the OG Foxy. His attacks are Bite 2, Unscrew 2, and Hot Cheese 2. Also, last time I said that FNAF World was not available to play anymore, but it's apparently available to play, just not on Steam. You can still get it on Game Jolt. I pretty much exclusively get my PC games from Steam and also from my Game Pass membership because I have like it on my Xbox and on my PC. But as evident from my earlier point about Pyro Illusion, because of all of you, I have been checking out Game Jolt more, and I gotta say, it's a pretty cool place. I feel like I've actually probably played games that we got from Game Jolt before on the channel. I just didn't know that's where they came from. I guess I thought they came from, I don't know, like sites that indie gamers make, which I think is also a thing. But yeah, Game Jolt is really cool. It's a really cool community with so many cool indie and free games to play. So if you're like me and you didn't know about it, go check it out. And if you did know about it and you told me about it, thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know. Contrary to popular belief, us hosts are also humans, and so we, 1, make mistakes, and 2, we don't know everything. We try our best, but we don't know everything. Number 6, Step Closer Foxy. This version of Foxy comes to us from the Fazbear Frights books, and it is theorized that he somehow has the power to place a curse on those who listen to his song. This is at least what we're led to believe somehow happened to Pete, who is told in song that in order to be a pirate, he'll first need to lose an eye and an arm. He then proceeds to have experiences which seem to endanger either of those 2 body parts. Although he tries to rush back to cure himself of the curse with the help of his brother, in the end, he doesn't make it. He's hit by a car, and then he ends up on an operating table. The doctors believe him to be dead, but while paralyzed, Pete is still somehow awake, still conscious. He is forced to watch as his hand and eye are removed as he registered as an organ donor, and someone else is in need of transplants. As he watches, he can hear this version of Foxy singing in his head. Such a good, scary story. Step Closer. Number 5, Funtime Foxy from FNAF World. I love Funtime Foxy even more in FNAF World. Just such a little cutie. Funtime Foxy is already cute in giant size, so this more like kind of chibi inspired take on the animatronic is just delightful. I also like how when they attack, they still keep their little arm behind their head, like just casually trying to cut you with my hook. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Their attacks in-game are Happy Jam 2, Cosmic Song, and gift boxes. Even their attacks sound adorable. Happy Jam itself is a heal, and I also just love a good healer character in an RPG. Always an important part of a party. Number 4, Roxanne Wolf. Well, Foxy is a fox, and Roxanne is a wolf. Roxanne is still kind of the stand-in for Foxy, as I see it, in Security Breach's new glam rock crew. Unless you see Montgomery Gator as more of a sub-in, neither of these animatronics is really too close to either Foxy or Bonnie, but if we had to go with one of them, Roxanne is definitely closer to Foxy than Bonnie is to either of these. Roxanne definitely has a similar look to Foxy, just in terms of her overall animatronic shape and design. Both her and Foxy have snouts and pointed ears, while Foxy is typically portrayed as playing the accordion, which also is an instrument with keys, you might notice. Roxanne plays the keytar in the glam rock version of the band that we see from Security Breach. So they both are kind of playing a similar instrument in my mind as well. They both have keys on them. Number 3, Withered Foxy. Withered Foxy is a more tattered version of the original. This version is in even worse shape than the version of Foxy we saw in FNAF 1. However, this version, in comparison to other Withered animatronics, actually isn't doing too bad. In fact, you could even say that Withered Foxy is the least broken down of all the other Withered animatronics. Mostly the rips in his suit are just larger, but the rest of him at least appears to be intact without any major missing pieces. Sure, you can see some of his endoskeleton poking through, but at least there is still some of his fur-like suit clinging onto the animatronic. Are the animatronics even covered in material that you think would feel like fur? Or does it just look like fur? Or is it actually nothing like fur and it's like hard plastic? What do you all think about the potential animatronic textures or textiles? I think about textiles way too much in life, I think. Number 2, Phantom Foxy. I personally like how Phantom Foxy kind of glows in the dark. Not only are they terrifying, but somehow this also makes the Phantom version of Foxy also cool at the same time. Is that possible? Can you be like cool and scary? I don't know, but I do know that if there were a t-shirt that said cool and scary on it with like, I don't know, a trendier like hipster ghost, I would totally wear that. Phantom Foxy, as we see him in FNAF 3, seems to appear similar to Withered Foxy in terms of his overall appearance. He's like a charred or burnt up version of that animatronic. His one eye blinks a bright white ghostly color, and he also happens to be missing his right arm and hook. Yikes. Number 1, Foxy. We've talked about all these alternate Foxys, but I think it's also important that we highlight the original version, the OG. Not an alternate per se, because, well, he is the original, but still an important version to discuss, as it's the one we all fell in love with. The original version of Foxy is, of course, the one we saw in the first FNAF game, named just Five Nights at Freddy's, the game that started it all. Foxy here is shown as being a bit shy at first, hiding behind his curtain, but once he comes out to play, he is very enthusiastic, too enthusiastic really, sprinting towards you. Many theorized in this first game that Foxy was actually not an antagonist, but merely running to check in on you and make sure you're safe, but accidentally startled you in the process, so much so that you, as Mike Schmidt, have a heart attack and die. Of course, Scott himself has confirmed that Foxy is not a friendly animatronic, but is an antagonist just like the rest of the crew. Still, we can dream of a world or a game where we get to become friends, not enemies of Foxy. Number 10, Stylized Foxy. Stylized Foxy is scary in a different way. These designs tend to be a bit exaggerated and over the top, which is what makes them so terrifying to me. From elongated snouts to oddly organic looking eye patches that look like they're made of Foxy's skin. I mean, this whole stylized Foxy's face in general, it's a lot, and it definitely creeps me out. Just the way the flesh seems to be peeled back from his mouth and nose, I really don't like that. It definitely does not seem like your average performance-ready version of Foxy, but that's also what makes Stylized Foxy so great, that he's over the top depending on the fan-made creation of him in either the scary or polished department, and sometimes in both. Number 9, Glamrock Foxy. I cannot lie that Glamrock Foxy looks pretty tame in comparison to some of the other fan-made creations on this list, but I do feel like all of the potential glam rock fan-made versions of both Foxy and the puppet would be the most terrifying ones to be integrated into this style, other than the already existing Monty, of course, who also looks fairly friendly but also like intimidating. Yeah, Monty creeps me out too, especially with all those sharp teeth. Some fan-made creations of glam rock Foxy feature him with sunglasses that completely obstruct his eyes, which I also find intimidating on these animatronics. I do not like not being able to see their eyes and knowing where they're looking. I want to see where those peepers are, you know, are they looking at me? Are they looking at me? Glamrock Foxy is also generally depicted as having quite a few sharp teeth showing, which also makes him kinda scary if you were to just see him in a dimly lit area backstage. Glamrock animatronics are still animatronics, which makes them pretty scary in general. There has also been a version that gave us a prosthetic mic in place of a prosthetic hook, which is weirdly more disturbing to me than a hook. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't know, prosthetic microphone on the end of your arm thing, it's not, I don't like it. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more fan-made versions of FNAF animatronics lists, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. And be sure to go check out our FNAF playlist. I think we've done like over 200 videos or something crazy on FNAF, so yeah, go check it out. You will be entertained for so long. Number 8. First Mate Foxy. This fan-made version was so prominent when I was looking at various fan creations that I could not ignore it. It comes from the fan-made game Sinister Turmoil. First Mate Foxy is obviously inspired by the Foxy from FNAF and is an animatronic who even shares his hook placement and eye patch placement with the main animatronic, original Foxy. He is dressed in tattered clothes, appearing like a first mate. I love his little sailor's bandana around his neck too. It's not scary, it's just a fun detail. While he may be dressed to look a little more friendly, First Mate Foxy is also in very rough shape, which is what makes his appearance so menacing. Haunted Foxy. Haunted Foxy has many different fan-made versions, with people offering their takes on Phantom Foxy, but also offering much brighter ghost-like versions as well. Haunted Foxy in general is depicted by fans as being more bright and neon than you might imagine. One creation imagines Haunted Foxy to be a character with blinding yellow eyes and a ghostly white but impossibly blinding stomach. Kind of weird, connecting its top half to its lower half. This version is still in shadow or burnt and tattered like the Phantom version, but also offers a bit more of a spectral, otherworldly vibe with its bright, glowing features. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of some of the spooks we saw in Ghostbusters originally, who also seemed to ominously glow. Also, I love Ghostbusters. Let's all go watch Ghostbusters now. Let's all go. After this list. Let me finish this list first. Ignited Foxy. Ignited Foxy is a fan-made version that typically stands out due to the bright red of his eyes, which are like little flames radiating outward from his skull. Sometimes he also almost seems electrified, as though even being within his proximity could be dangerous because of how easily he could perhaps shock you. One version even seems to show Foxy with live wire feet and arms, at least that's how I would describe that. His eyes either glow red or more predominantly seem to be a bright, blinding white, and his legs and chest cavity are revealed, with his outer suit being torn away to reveal the endoskeleton underneath, which looks similar to a human skeleton in terms of layout. Like, not exactly, but I think you see what I'm talking about here. Sinister Foxy. This version of Foxy seems to be specifically characterized by his pointy, very sharp teeth. Like many of the other fan-made Sinister versions, he also sometimes has holes where his eyes would be, or alternatively has a white gear or bright light, but just in one eye, peering at you from the darkness. Sinister Foxy is made to look more menacing and intimidating, definitely not a version you could ever consider to be your friend, unlike original Foxy. This version appears to be more of a straight-laced foe. Some fan-made versions also showcase Sinister Foxy with a light at the back of his mouth or his throat, as though beckoning you to enter and be consumed. Do not let Foxy eat you. His teeth are very pointy, it would not be pleasant. Stylized Nightmare Foxy. This fan-made version of Foxy is so good, I had to share it with you. It almost looks like at first glance that this version has no face, but his snout is just actually more in tatters than what we're used to seeing on our animatronics. But it really does look like he has no face. If you just look at it really quickly, it's disturbing. Stylized Nightmare Foxy comes with an equally disturbing, oddly thin parrot. Like, this parrot looks like it has been resurrected from the dead, which would also make sense given the state of Foxy here. Foxy himself is in tatters as well, with his calves completely visible. Calves and his feet. This version of Foxy appears to have both feet, no peg leg or anything like that, but still has one hook. The visible endo parts of his legs look strikingly deadly, as though you were about to take on some kind of futuristic Terminator version of the animatronic. This fan-made version of the animatronic was shared on Reddit by That Soup Dude, so thank you, That Soup Dude, for this very disturbing version wherever you are. Out in the world. Number 3. Scrap Foxy. Who even needs a peg leg when you are Scrap Foxy? This version of the animatronic is typically depicted as hopping around on one foot, with his arm potentially also missing. He is the definition of scrappy. Some fan-made scrap versions of the character also show him missing his eyes. Generally, he is in a very severe state of degradation, with whole chunks or limbs missing, and in many cases, his endoskeleton also peeks through. There are also Funtime Foxy versions of this character, which are perhaps, I don't know, even more terrifying to look at due to the fact that their colors still appear cheerful and bright. For some reason, when something is cheerful and bright but also like a mess, I don't like that. Number 2, Nightmare Toy Foxy. One of the worst things around, once again, because of the contrast from bright to horrific, is Nightmare Toy Foxy. This version of the character is sometimes shown with a slightly larger or more prominent hook and in very bad shape, like most of the Nightmare animatronics. Even still, for some reason, it looks to me like Nightmare Toy Foxy, and most fan-made renderings of it, is always slightly smiling, which makes them even more disturbing to gaze upon. Like many of the other Nightmare animatronics, they have rows and rows of teeth and either have a very stripped down version of a hand puppet on their arm or a larger hook in its place. Like with the prosthetic microphone that Glamrock Foxy is shown wielding, I personally think the tattered hand puppet prosthetic is even more frightening. You can't even tell, I mean, I guess it's got little nubs for its ears. Is this supposed to be like a bonbon? I don't know. Number 1, Twisted Foxy. Twisted Foxy is very disturbing to look at and is covered in holes that appear to emit, I don't know, toxic spores? He looks like something out of an H.P. Lovecraft story, some eldritch god monster type monstrosity. Twisted Foxy has multiple mouths with rows of sharp teeth, bright yellow eyes frozen in an angered grimace, and like I said, then there are all the holes, which are apparently not just rips, but are actually functional. The stub that his hook is attached to also looks all the more terrifying because of how large it is in contrast to the slim hook that's attached to the end of it, connected only by skin which seems to be wound around its base as though it were like a string. It makes me uncomfortable just talking about it.